Finding your dream home can honestly be one of the most exciting things that you ever will do in life, but it also can get really overwhelming if you don't know where to start. Today I'm revealing the #1 secret to start, which is defining what your priorities are. This will literally help you avoid so much stress that is humanly possible, save save a lot of time, and then honestly make your overall home buying experience so much better. So if you're interested in that, keep watching. Okay, so my name is Walter Wilson and I'm a realtor here in Houston, Texas, and I've been a realtor for a few years now, and I've helped countless of buyers buy and purchase homes here and around Houston. And I think the #1 tip that I could give to all of my home buyers is really prioritizing what is important to you. And like I said, that is what today's video is about. So today I'm going to help you figure out how to figure out what your priorities are, real world examples to pretty much pitch you in that point of view, and also most importantly give you some common mistakes to avoid when going through the home buying process to make it as smoothly as humanly possible. And when I say humanly possible, buying a house can be stressful, buying a house is stressful, but I'm going to give you a ton of tips and wish list items to expect. So in this video you will have a step-by-step process to define your must-have items, nice to haves, deal breakers, plus some tips on how to balance your wish list and budget. But without further ado, let's get started with the video. All right, so why does priorities even matter in the first place? And I think the most important things is it really helps you save a lot of time, prioritize what's important to you, and then it helps you tour the homes that are actually gonna be a great fit for you. Because think about this, it's like going to the grocery store and not knowing what you're gonna cook, and you end up buying things that you don't need. You end up wasting a lot of time, and you end up forgetting a lot of things that is important, or you end up forgetting a lot of things that is important to the meal that you're gonna make. And so if you apply that same principle, defining what your priorities are and why it matters is so important. So I once had a client that came to me and had this vision of having a huge backyard and said, "Hey Walter, these are my must-have items based off what I think that I want." But after speaking with her and touring a few homes, I realized hey, you don't actually spend time at home. I mean, you don't actually spend a lot of your time in your backyard. She wanted a 10,000, 12,000 square foot backyard, which if you don't know is massive. And I mentioned to her, hey, I know you mentioned you want to do cooking videos, you love doing clothing hauls and things like that. Why not prioritize those things in your home buying search? And ultimately she decided hey, Walter, you're actually right. I don't want to mow the yard. I don't want to pay $50 to $100 every other week in order to mow this huge yard that I'm probably going to use once a year. Let's ultimately prioritize these few things. The second point is really defining what your must-have items are, or your non-negotiables. That could be what school district the house is zoned to, the number of bedrooms, the backyard size, the kitchen, the living room, what floor is each thing on. Those are critical points, making sure the home buying process goes smoothly and perfectly. Because if you're a family of 4 and you're looking at 3-bedroom homes and you know for a fact that, hey, this is going to be too small, then maybe a 4 and 5-bedroom home is necessary. So that will change the location that we're looking into. That would change if we're able to look in the city versus the suburbs. Where do you spend most of your time at? How many bedrooms do you need? And do you need close proximity to schools? So to give you an example of that, I had a client who told me that they needed a 3-bedroom home with an office, and also they needed just a small backyard. They didn't need anything too big because yes, they had younger kids. Yes, they would go outside, but it wasn't something that was a priority. But having an in-home office was necessary for her, because without that, she would not be able to work. So that helped me prioritize what homes I was showing her, what homes that we saw. And that helped us filter through probably over 50 homes, because that in-home office was a necessity. The third, after you know what your must-have items are, would be what are your nice-to-have items, things that you're hey, Walter, if the budget allows for it, the area allows for it, can I have? That would be things like a rooftop terrace if you're in the city, a pool, which is very common on the must-have items, a water pot filler, a wine cellar, things of that nature. And I think typically what I like to do is I like to ask my clients to visualize in an ideal world, what things would your inner child want that you envision having in your home when you were 20, 30, 40, 50 years old? And those are like must-have items that I like to have, as like a pool, like I mentioned before, or a wine cellar for my wine connoisseurs, just things like that. That kind of helps you prioritize the things that are important, but also like the things that will like make you very happy. You're like, every day you walk into your home, you're like, wow, I really have a resort style pool in my backyard, or wow, I really have a whole wine cellar in my living room to start my wine collection because I love hosting wine. The fourth and most important thing is to clarify what your deal breaking items are. That could be, I do not want to see any homes that are not new construction. I'm only looking at new construction, Walter. Please do not show me anything that is not new construction. That could be not showing me any homes that are in need repairs. I'm not looking to purchase a home and have to immediately go into repairs and also juggle like a chaotic life around also moving into a home. That could also be like parking. Like that's a big thing in the city. So I once had a client that said, hey, parking isn't one of my deal breakers. I don't really host like that. But we started to tour homes, and we went to like a 6-home community, which is pretty much 6 townhomes within a gated community here in Houston. And the parking was very, very limited. There was no guest parking whatsoever. It was on a busier street, and she soon realized like, hey, I do have like friends coming over from time to time, and not having anywhere for them to park was absolutely a deal breaker. And I definitely agreed with her. Me personally, I'm someone who likes to host from time to time, and having like that additional parking always comes into play. Last and final item, number 5, would be balancing priorities with your budget. This is probably the number one thing that ties everything in together. That is what considers what your must-have items are, your nice-to-have items, location, parking, quite literally everything. So focusing on what your must-have items are, then going down to your flexible or nice-to-have items, and then taking into account everything else that will come into play when you are purchasing a home, like taxes, homeowners insurance, maintenance, things that you want to do to improve your overall home. Your budget is critical to this whole overall process, which I'm sure you know. I that wanted a huge backyard, and I found them a few options. This was in Katy, Texas. One was priced at like $500,000. Another one was priced about $30,000. Both options offered everything that she was looking for. It offered the big backyard. It offered the kitchen, the oversized closets, 2 upstairs game room, the whole 9. But we ultimately decided to go with the more affordable option, just because, yes, the larger backyard would have been awesome, but realistically, she received everything that she was looking for, even with the medium-sized backyard. And so just analyzing your budget, thinking about your lifestyle, and thinking about all of those things together will ultimately help you have the best home buying process. Secret to finding your dream home is really defining what your must-have items are, your nice-to-have items, and your deal breakers, guys, and balancing that all with your budget. That brings really everything together. All of those things really just makes the whole overall home buying process so much more easier, so much more simple, and just so much more exciting and enjoyable. So now it's your turn to pretty much figure out what your priorities are when you're looking for a home. What are your nice to have items, and what are things that you're just like, hey, Walter, if I could get this in my budget, I would love. But if you're ever thinking about moving to Houston, Texas, let's connect. Please leave a comment below. And if you haven't already, please like, comment, and subscribe. But I'll see you at the next video. Peace.